Kubor ka Batisi TV. Lawan Rashapi da ka Frank Motors. I am Tata Punch. Price starting at 5.80 lakhs. Ringkat bat ka net foodish. Ordar mapi nginwan ra amangi hakir dobyeng jongpi.
Ka National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, ringkat ka Jingshah lang jong ka Meghalaya State Commission for Protection of Child Rights, lembat ki Pynsngewthuh jong ka West Jante Hills District. Hakas ngisa jan kan riu terik unailar hajar arpuar. Kila pelong ya ka Pynsngewthuh pajba, ka basisngi halor kapang, combating child trafficking. Lani ka Ïada na ka Jingshah Khaïi bean, ya ki Khynnah red, kum shibenta ka Jingrakhe ya ka World Day Against Human Trafficking. Ha ka lang bala pelong ha conference hall jong ka office terekam u deputy commissioner la sakhilang da u DC in charge u BK Boro ka chairperson jong ka Meghalaya State Commission for Protection of Child Rights ka kong Yaman MCM u superintendent of police jong ka West Jante Hills District u Bikram D Marang ki police officer ki Nongtre jong ka District Child Protection Unit bat ki wei.
We are here to sensitize with regards to the combating child trafficking, especially for those districts with regards to the child trafficking in the country, India. You know that child trafficking is a crime and it is very, very prevalent in many parts of the country, India. And sometimes it gives a negative impact towards the courts of our country. That's why to sensitize the various stakeholders, our chairpersons, Ncpcr and state, they are here. Welcome you all to be very interactive. If there is any doubts, please share your
profit motive. And most of the victims in this are children, and of course the women is also a part of the major components in this trafficking. Trafficking in children involves more than one places of occurrence, than a basket of offenses. And these organized criminals, we can term it as a multiplayers. Then recruiters, spotters, recruiters, then comes transporters and harborers, financiers, and at the last, it's called end abusers, means when the child is trafficked. These are we will call it as a stakeholders in the crime. We call it as a stakeholders in the crime. Right from the spotters till the end users, they are multiplayers in all the stages. And single player will not play till the end. That is what we come to know in this particular crime. And it involves not only one location, and in the subject matter itself it is mentioned why our district is chosen, because we share the international border with Bangladesh, which is very easy to traffic to the other nation, because these traffickers normally does not confine to one place. They go from state to state, nation to nation. The children belonging to the marginalized communities are usually the victims. Because why? Of low awareness level or more vulnerable because of the economic problem. Either they are member of the person who is looking after track the missing child. This one matters. Let me go. All the crime constitute mainly POCSO cases. We call it crime against women and children. So what we did with my team, we identified the hotspots. And finally, we could narrow down into 14 villages. We did little bit of analyze, research, what is the major constituents of this perpetration in this crime called crime against women and children. And then we tie up with a team which was legal services from state is very kind enough to give me one team which is called Access to Justice. Specifically the team given for the Northeast and Jammu Kashmir. They came down to the district, hold a workshop with my officers. Then they started going out to these 14 villages where we have identified as a hotspot. And we start our vigorous campaign incorporating, number one, the women folks of the villages. Number two, teenagers. Number three, religious institutions. It's not an easy task for the police to track multipliers from place to place. And finally, sometimes it land up in international level. So, madam, I'd like to share the exercise which our West Ncpcr Hills district has been taking up, and to the house I'd like to inform our exercise is considered as a good practice by the Assembly Committee for the Women Empowerment when they come and hold a meeting with us. Initially when I joined before 2 years, I was looking at the crime rate, and all the crime constitute mainly POXO cases. We call it crime against women and children. So what we did with my team, we identified the hotspots. And finally, we could narrow down into 14 villages. We did little bit of analyze, research, what is the major constituents of this perpetration in this crime called crime against women and children. And then we tie up with a team.
So vulnerable, areas, especially the woman and child, they're vulnerable. And when we look at history, we see that they're vulnerable. When you go back in history, it's like historically specific that at one point of time, women and of course children were treated as commodities. They're treated as objects, especially in patriarchal societies, but even in matrilineal, there's patriarchy in matrilineal, as many of you have found out, especially relating to domestic violence and so on. So what happens is that if we go back to history, the trade, the flesh trade, the human trade, it's lucrative, money-making kind of business, organized crime. Some say after drugs, some say after arms. Yeah, arms, we're so paranoid that the whole world, consider arms. But then actually there are the three wicked trio, like arms, drugs, as well as trafficking the human flesh. So this is something for us to remember. That's why it's worth they'll do anything. Traffickers will do anything to get that extra buck. And also, in a way, it's more convenient. I'm sure the police personnel would know this. It's more convenient in the sense that you don't have to put them, you don't have to kind of put contraband in a box or something like that. There are ways of getting away with that, right? So this is something why it seems to be increasing, especially after the pandemic, when some push factors are there. One is economic kind of push. A lot of people have lost their jobs, and just to remind everybody that there are a lot of women who are single parent and they are really stressed. They have been left, they are isolated. So if you look at the data, and have been studies, in various parts, where they see that, the other day I also mentioned the feminization of poverty. A lot of women are poor. I've seen, we've heard in the commission, a lot of people come and, this is one of the main reasons actually. And we need these social markers because they're important to us. We need these to kind of assess, to also realize that people have these days so that because they are of value, they mean something to the society and to us. So it's good every every time we have something, a celebration or just remembering certain days, we are grateful because that's time that we learn to sit back and reflect, and work out what are the things of value when we look back and we look forward. So this is a kind of exercise like that. And let me just start maybe from here. As we all are aware, and the police know it, you know it much better than we in fact, and political inequality among other things. There's also culture involved and so on. So it's a very complex kind of problem.
In international border districts. So this is not limited to only few districts. The campaign will again go on. The districts which are sharing international borders of Meghalaya and other places we are having this program. And why 75? Because we all know that we are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the 75 years of our Indian independence, and 15 August is coming. So that's why we have chosen 75 such districts. So it's a Sanskrit shlok which says Bhavishyo Rakshati Rakshita, right? That
woven into our society becomes an intricate part. And now we're getting more savvy, we're getting updated in technology. So we use technology, rather, not us, but the people who want to.
So first is illegal drugs, then arms trafficking, weapons, and then human trafficking. So this is very alarming for all of us. Next, please. Now let's touch upon some of the figures which are internationally. Then what is the global scenario? I think we need to understand first. So International Labour Organization in 2020 came up with a report and highlighted that the globally traffickers exploit 77% of victims in their countries of residence. So this is the report came by International Labour Organization. Another report which came up by UNODC, our future, so we have to protect our children so that tomorrow our future will be protecting us. Can we move to the next, please? As already touched upon a few of the pointers by Chairperson Madam, so we know that human trafficking is already. A total of 4,709 victims have been reported to be trafficked. Strengthen the family, we have to strengthen the socio-economic status of family by existing schemes of the government on child rights. So it's very important that poverty alleviation of the family should be done in the best interest of child. And we know how they are being taken physically by any mode of transport. Online grooming, this is one of the upcoming thing which is there, that children are being groomed and they're being trafficked. We have the police officials sitting here. I think you